Hi, everybody. I'm Adriana Hopkins with ABC 7 News, coming to you from the Oxon Hill branch of the Prince George's County Memorial Library System for PGCMLS this week. Now, as we enter the second week of Black History Month, it's, of course, a time to honor and remember the monumental figures of our past who have gotten us to where we are today. But we also have to acknowledge that all of us, no matter the color of our skin, must continue the fight for racial justice, even in modern times. Now, here's what's coming up this week from your local library. This Tuesday at 7 p.m., Jamar Tisby, author of the award-winning book, The Color of Compromise, encourages moving past mere discussion into active implementation when it comes to social justice. The title of his new work, How to Fight Racism, succinctly tells readers exactly what that game plan is. Tisby advocates equipping people with the practical tools to fight against all forms of racism. Get a first-hand perspective on the recent Capitol and Black Lives Matter events in D.C. Monday at 7 p.m. Documentary filmmaker and activist Eddie Becker will share interviews filmed on the ground at these events. Becker's footage bridges the gap between local activism and global political movements. This Friday, the library is offering back-to-back opportunities for kids to celebrate Valentine's Day. At noon, learn how to use construction paper hearts to create an animal craft during STEM at Home, presented by Echoes of Nature and their animal friends. Then at 3 p.m., youth of all ages will have an opportunity to create original pieces of art using tape, acrylic paint, and canvases at the Crafternoon Masking Tape Art event. PGCMLS is affirming that Black history should be celebrated and exhibited all year round. Visit the library's Black Heritage Hub to access a plethora of Black history resources, including films, music, magazines, online reference resources, a timeline, and much more. Check out all the amazing things your local library has to offer, and check out the new web design at pgcmls.info. Have a great week. We'll see you back here next week.
Good afternoon, everyone. Shout out to Miss Vivian, who is tuning in from Oxon Hill, who is our favorite. My name is Nick. I'm the COO for Communication and Outreach at the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. I'm so excited for our conversation today. As you can tell, I am not Roberta Phillips, but I am carrying the torch as she is otherwise committed this afternoon. So glad that you can all join us. This is, of course, our weekly program. We're broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at PGCMLS. Repost, retweet, share, help us reach the masses. There's going to be a lot of great information shared today. So today we're kind of going to cover two things. We're going to talk about the Financial Empowerment Center at Prince George's Community College, which is an amazing resource that is available to all of us in the community. And then we're also going to talk about the work of advisory board members from FEC at PGCC. And total disclaimer, I am biased. I am on the advisory board, so I get to serve with these fabulous colleagues on screen here. But each of our organizations does different work in the community. Sometimes there's a lot of overlap. Sometimes we complement each other with our work. But really want you to learn a bit more about all of our respective organizations and initiatives, and have you learn how to connect with these fabulous colleagues and organizations. So I'm going to invite everyone to just do a quick intro of themselves and where they work or how they're affiliated with FEC. And then once we get through all of the intros, we'd love to ask Heath and or Plachette to give us a bit of an overview of what FEC at PGCC offers the community. And we'll start with Victoria, if you don't mind.
Thanks, Nick. Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Saunders. I'm the site coordinator for the Financial Empowerment Center at Prince George's Community College.
Awesome, thank you. Who wants to go next?
Oh, I can go next. My name is Chazzy Diggs, and I am also one of the board members. I am with Capital Structures Real Estate. I'm a licensed real estate agent based in Maryland and District of Columbia. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Okay, I'll go next. My name is Tyronda Boone, aka Mr. Ty. I have a financial literacy program for young people starting from age 3 to 17.
Awesome, welcome. And the best glasses on the show today.
Fabulous. Yes.
Plachette?
Hi, I'm Plachette Monroe, and I am the Advisory Board Chair for the Financial Empowerment Center. And thank you so much for having me.
Of course, our pleasure.
And Heath Kerlock, Director of the Financial Empowerment Center at Prince George's Community College. It's a project of the United Way of the National Capital Area, and we are based at Prince George's Community College, generally in Largo. Now, obviously, since COVID-19 has occurred, we've been fortunate to move into a remote and virtual footing. So thank you, Nick, for allowing us to introduce ourselves.
Awesome. So can any of you, and specifically Heath and Plachette, and anyone else who wants to jump in, give us a bit of a snapshot of what the FEC is, what are the programs that it offers, and how it connects with different community organizations to provide services and resources to folks?
Well, sure, I'll lead on that. So the Financial Empowerment Center is part of a larger framework that was set up by the United Way in the wake of the 2008-2009 recession, the Great Recession. And a lot of the work that went into that had to do with financial capability and ordinary people. And across the country, now this began in the Midwest and moved west, but it finally came to the East Coast, and in our area, Prince George's County was the first through the United Way of the National Capital Area to receive a financial empowerment center, largely due to the work of one of our professors, Betty Habershon, who was working with the VITA IRS program and using resources that needed a complement, needed to be amplified. And so the United Way came in and they had this national framework that they had been using in different locations and complemented that work. And so they designated Prince George's Community College and Prince George's County for that. And essentially what the financial empowerment centers do, they have other names: prosperity centers, financial capability centers, financial stability centers, spark points out west in San Francisco and such. But here we call them financial empowerment centers. And largely what they do and they account for are increased credit, increased savings, reduced debt, decreased debt, and increased use of financial products that largely put people on a path toward wealth building and financial stability. And they're set up and designed so that people get these resources for free. Free personal financial coaching, free credit improvement solutions, free small business coaching, free tax preparation, free home buying and major purchasing counseling, and free workshops on demand.
So what is the role of the advisory board in helping to amplify the services and the work of FEC?
So I'll let Plachette answer this after I mention this one thing, that the United Way contractually has set this up so that the community has a voice and is involved. And so as an agreement, the financial empowerment centers have advisory boards to better connect with community members, nonprofits, education institutions, and the like. How that works in Prince George's County is unique, and I'll let Plachette elaborate on some of that.
Yes, thank you, Heath, and thank you, Nick, again for having us here. I have been a part of the Financial Empowerment Center for roughly 2 to 3 years. Mr. Kerlock and I met in another, I would say, community organization. I met him some years ago. And so one of the things that he mentioned is how the advisory board works with the Financial Empowerment Center because of our community involvement. And so many people on the advisory board are wonderful in the fact that they give back not only in their respective roles in the community, but they take the time to share their resources, whether it be their educational resources, their skills, and the things that they do to come back and give to the Financial Empowerment Center and to the community. So we are connected as a family because of our love for Prince George's County and the state of Maryland as a whole. And so I'm really thankful to be able to work with so many people and for us to come together to enrich the Financial Empowerment Center, which at that point they are able to give back to the greater good. And so Heath mentioned a lot of the things that is done there is done for free. And so that is one of the things that I really want people to understand, that the work that Heath and Victoria are doing, the advisory board members, we're here to support the community, and all of these resources are here for free. And so thank you again, Heath.
Yeah, thank you, Plachette, and thank you, Heath. I think, similar to public libraries, the FEC is just a treasure that has endless, an endless kind of well of commitment to supporting the community, and the resources and services that you offer at no cost for folks. Are, like, people pay a huge amount of money for these services that you offer, whether that's assistance with taxes or assistance with how to kind of get your money right and get out of debt and things like that, as well as things that you might need to know if you're starting out a business or work as an independent contractor. But we have sometimes more than we can message well, at least certainly on the library side, where we've got crazy number of online resources and programs. Like in a normal year where we're not in a pandemic, our library presents 8,800 live programs in 19 branches in 12 months. Like, that's staggering. And how can you possibly even come to promote half of that? I don't know. But the community connection and the word of mouth is always going to be the strongest way of passing along these resources. So we're so glad to connect and shine a little spotlight on everything today. What are some of the programs that FEC has been offering virtually during COVID, and what are some of the programs that are coming up in the next few months?
So the Financial Empowerment Center, generally at Prince George's Community College, at least, our Financial Empowerment Center focuses on the outcomes. So improved credit, increased savings, reduced debt, and increased use of financial products. So essentially, all the programming is tailored to support that. Now, there is a caveat, though. There's this connective tissue that's unseen that helps support and undergird good financial decision making. And Nick, that includes like the mentality people have towards money, their relationship with money, and their history with economic opportunity, employment, these other aspects of life that frame how successful people can be with money if they go without any supports. And so what happens is we have a community, that through the Alice report, it shows that a little over a third of Prince George's County is at or below the poverty line or just above it. Okay, so people require attention, services, support. A lot of us are crying out right now. This COVID-19 situation has caused great disruption, interference with goals. The trajectory people were on in terms of employment was great there for a minute, even in this county. But now Prince George's County is at 9% or higher of unemployment. That means tens of thousands of our fellow citizens are in duress, right? And so in order to address that, our programs have to hit at ways in which people can get that on-ramp to economic opportunity, be able to stabilize themselves, be able to establish financial confidence, be able to have some more literacy, because we know that people who are literate in financial literacy education and topics regarding their bank account and sustaining levels of savings, that they have better financial outcomes, that their relationships are better, their marriages are stronger, their parenting is better. The way they do many things is different. So our programs focus on things like the following. We offer services on life insurance, education on estate planning, education on mental health first aid and money, education on COVID-19 and the proper ways in which people can delve into all the different transitions we've had to make with regards to COVID-19. It delves into money management basics. So your whole trajectory with money, how we earn money, how we plan with it, how we save it, how we spend it, how we invest and borrow, and of course, how we protect ourselves. There have been a number of scams, even associated with COVID-19. The public has to know this information. And we do this not just by ourselves, but with partners, great and major partners, like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau from the US government, the Securities and Exchange Commission, right? We do this with other local contractors who are very well educated, people who have banking experience, like our wonderful advisory board member and contractor coach, Oliver Dehan, and Colonel Ivan Sherrard, formerly of the US Air Force, who helps folks with their estate planning, their tax planning, their life insurance planning, and various other aspects of money. So our programs take on a serious tack, and they're also data informed. And I'll let Victoria share a little bit about her specialty there, which is the Money Management Basics program and our tax preparation programs.
Thank you, Heath. So yes, so at as Heath was saying, at the Financial Empowerment Center, we offer Money Management Basics, a program that I hosted, I guess, about a week ago, and pretty much is basically teaching people about the basics of money, saving, budgeting, increasing your credit score, things of that nature. We also do tax preparation. So every year at Prince George's Community College, we offer a free tax preparation program. Even during COVID, we are offering that same program. Now it's virtually. So if your income is below $57,000 or less, we can prepare your taxes at the college for free. You can visit our website, pgcc.edu/go/tax, to get more information on that program. Also, you can visit our FEC website, pgcc.edu/go/FEC, and you can get to that same page there. This particular season, we're offering a virtual program where there is no income limit. So if you need your taxes done, you'll be able to prepare your taxes with a tax coach. So you're doing your taxes yourself, but you'll have a certified tax coach there to assist you if there's any questions and to guide you through each of the steps. And then we know that a lot of people nowadays may not have or still have difficulty getting internet access and computer access. So the college is allowing us to open every day of the week for those people who need their taxes done. We're doing a drop-off program, but your income does have to be below $55,000 in order to take part in that particular program. But you'll come into Prince George's Community College, drop off your taxes after going through a interview process, and then you'll be able to pick up your taxes within a week. So we're trying to assist as many people as we can in the county in each of those areas. So virtual taxes and also drop-off taxes as well.
Awesome, thank you. If anyone hears some shrieking in the background, it's some children that are out front of my house having a great time. Slightly jealous of them, but I'm having a great time too. I just feel like an adult doing this, and that feels like a whole different vibe. But so while we're thinking about taxes, I just want to kind of share for everyone that while the libraries are in curbside service only and our buildings are still closed for now because of the pandemic, you can request tax forms from the libraries for pickup during curbside service. So if you've got an appointment to pick up books or some other materials already, when you go to your appointment, you can just let the staff know, hey, I need XYZ tax form. If you're able to put that request into your curbside form in advance, that will give them some more prep time. But basic state forms, basic federal forms, we're happy to get them to you. The other thing that we offer is free mobile printing, first 10 pages free per visit. So if you're to the point where you did your taxes and you need to mail them in, or it's something like that, you can come get the first 10 pages printed out for free, and then the cost is very nominal if you need to do a job that's larger than 10 pages. And whenever we get back into the branches with our customers, we'll be able to continue to augment all those services when it's safe. But just wanted to throw that out real quick while we were on the topic of taxes. So financial literacy it's a lifelong thing that we have to be thinking about. And it's like many other skills that, like technology, it's not a finite thing. It's not, there's not a binary. You're either digital, you either have digital literacy or you don't. It's a trajectory and it's a process and it's a cycle. And one of the things that I'm excited about in our conversation today is being able to talk about the different phases in our lives where we might have different ways of receiving financial literacy training. So Ms. Boone and Mr. Diggs are dealing with folks at different stages of their financial literacy, if we're doing it right. And I'd love to hear a bit about how you approach working with the target age groups that you serve in terms of making sure that folks get educated or are knowing how to keep their interests at the forefront of any financial transaction. So Ms. Boone, if you want to go first, since you've got the youngins.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. So my focus is on the young people. We start at ages 3 and we go all the way up to 17. Studies show that in the African American community in particular, we don't talk about financial literacy to our young people for whatever reason. Maybe we don't know ourselves, or maybe there's some shame, but we don't do it. So we let our young people become young adults who make mistake after mistake after mistake with their money. And we leave them to learn these concepts on their own. I mean, we teach them how to ride a bike. We teach our young people how to read, but we don't talk to them about good money management. So that's where my program comes in. When we talk about the early childhood age, preschool to maybe first grade, that is done with songs, dancing, storytelling, games, all sorts of creative activities, even virtually, because I offer these programs virtually, to keep our young people engaged and get them talking about money and entrepreneurship. When we get to talking about our older students, we talk more about, the same concepts, and we talk about investing, give different examples. Like the GameStop example was really, really great. And they were, really, really into it and receptive to it. So these are concepts that our children really, really want to know. And it's very, very important for us to share it, again, in particular in the African American community, because it'll take us over 100 years to catch up with the wealth in other communities. So I just try to make sure that the programs are very engaging. I'm open for any questions. I mean, I had a student email me at like 12 o'clock midnight asking me something about payday loans. So just to open up the conversation, because we don't want to let our young people go out and get all these student loans and think that the refund is actually a refund, like I did. And 10 years later, you're still paying back that loan because you deferred it and you did a forbearance. And you're like, I'm not paying that. And then you look and say, well, that wasn't the smartest thing that I could have done. But again, if nobody really sat you down and told you, then what else would you do? And, we tell our children to save your money, but we don't tell them why. Save. Okay, I mean, it's more fun spending, and I acknowledge that. But why should you save? You need to save for emergencies. You need to save so you can invest. If you want to start your own business, there's so many reasons that you need to save. So if we get them excited about saving now, then it'll be easier for them to save in the future and make better financial decisions.
What are some of the topics within financial literacy, especially for younger folks, that excite them about learning more? Because it seems like there's the scope of the curricula is probably endless. So, like, what really works with that audience in terms of getting them excited? So the young people, I actually did a cartoon about stocks. I did a cartoon and a coloring book about stocks. And that's a very complex, abstract topic. But the way that it was broken down, they were able to understand. I compared a company to a pie and stocks to slices of pie. We talked about different types of pies that, we enjoy, and different types of businesses that you could liken to different types of pie. And then we sing songs, and then they get excited about it. So I'm a music teacher by nature, so this is kind of secondhand for me. But really, as long as you can break a topic down and make it fun and differentiate it, then you can reach them on different levels. So I'm not just gonna speak to them. I'm gonna sing a song. I'm gonna show a cartoon. We have this activity. So you're reaching them where they are. So they're able to understand it, and not just understand it, they're able to retain it. I was speaking to a friend of mine. I don't remember any standardized test I've ever taken. I don't remember any of those questions. You know what I mean? But we had to take them regularly. You know what I mean? And I understand why we have standardized tests in schools to a degree, but we really need to make sure that we're teaching our children about money and saving and being good stewards over their finances, so they don't, they're not making poor financial decisions, and they're building that generational wealth for their young people. My daughter just had a birthday. She had $10. She already knew what she was going to do with half of that money, and she's 5. We're putting half of that money in your piggy bank. And she's like, yay, piggy bank. That's right. Get excited about saving at 5. So at 25, when you're looking at your account, you can really get excited. So it's really just getting them excited about it and the exposure. That's pretty much what my goal is. So I do offer free
programs. I have a free program coming up this weekend for ages 3 to 7. And I mean, this information I feel like is really, really vital, especially, again, to the African American community, because we are the top consumers, but we are not saving like we need to. I always say, okay, so we have all this technology, but do you know what's going on in the stock market with the tech company? So it's very important.
And Nick, very quickly, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has a Money as You Grow toolkit also for children, where they underscore the 16 children's books that best demonstrate financial education for kids. And they break it down into 3 domains, including planning, money, and at the individual level. And I love the individual level for all the reasons Tyronda just mentioned, because it speaks to their self-control, their ability to follow through. For example, if they write up, you know, I'm going to use this allowance money, this $10 to go to the store and buy X, Y, or Z, and then they get to the store and they realize the item they want to buy either is too expensive or it's slightly more than $10. What do they do when they get in that situation when the taxes transact and it's $10.43, right? What type of follow through and patience does the child demonstrate? And so those books look at books like Curious George. They look at books like A Chair for My Mother, A Bargain for Francis. It looks at books like Just Shopping with Mom. And it also looks at the Oxcart Fam. And it's books like that where you can draw out the lessons in the education, extend the learning, even in the home environment. And at the Financial Empowerment Center, we actually have the booklets that complement parental literacy and to help teach and guide that children or those children with that resource. And so we have it for each one of the books. And all of these books you can check out at Prince George's Memorial Library System, because my wife and I did it for our 3 kids. And it was a brilliant exercise. And the children are much more familiar with the activities that are needed to sustain good financial development.
Very cool. Heath is an honorary spokesperson for the library, as you can tell. He knows how to get those talking points in. Another thing, just following up on Ms. Boone's remarks there, one of the things, so if you're thinking about standardized testing, that's a huge money pit sometimes for good reason. Like if you're thinking about going to law school or getting ready for a college application, standardized tests are still part of the reality, even though it's becoming more optional for some, which is great finally. But we actually offer a platform called Learning Express Library, where there are free standardized test prep courses and resources, as well as actual practice exams for everything from the PSAT to the ACT to the ASVAB, which is about getting into the military as an enlisted personnel, as well as graduate school entrance exams and things like that. And going back to what was being said earlier about those standardized test questions, like once upon a time I was looking at the GREs for some grad school stuff, and I was like, I can't do this math anymore. Like I can do a budget, I can apply for a grant, I can pay my bills somehow, and that's about it. I can't do all this calculus stuff anymore. So check out the library. We've got a lot of great resources that you could go out and buy it on your own, but why not save the money and put that money towards something else that you might need it for, or might just give you some more flexibility. Ms. Boone, would you mind telling folks how they can connect with you and learn more about that weekend program that you have?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is @ZoeAndXanders1, same as my Twitter. And my email address, my website is Zoe and Xanders Guide to Success, ZoeyAnd Xanders, Zanders, Guide to Success.org. So all of our upcoming events are on there. We have a great video coming out called The Power of the Black Dollar that I produced for Park and Planning. Like I said, the free classes that we have. So please make sure you follow me, stay connected, so we can make sure our young people are leaving and building that generational wealth for the ones coming behind them.
Awesome, thank you. And Mr. Diggs, what do you want people to know before they come to you ready to buy a house or invest in some property. That's opening up a whole can of worms, but there's this period from that youth education point to when you're kind of entering the thought of purchasing a home. And then on top of that, what are the benefits of purchasing a home versus continuing to put money into renting?
All right. And so I'll start off with saying, thank you guys for having me once again. So basically the difference between renting and owning, for one, is a preference situation, because say, for example, someone may not want to rent in, like New York City or, or somewhere like here, because they're going to be moving throughout, like they don't expect to be there forever. But if you like looking for that long-term growth and, to see what can happen in your area, like you want to live in Prince George's County forever, then home ownership is definitely one of those great things that I recommend to a lot of people, because you get a lot of benefits, like you get things like tax advantages, things of that nature, and you get to see an appreciating asset as well. And so my goal is to try to teach as many people as I can about the home ownership like process. And so I try my best to do it on like different forms of media, like Instagram, TikTok with Heath, just try to do as much as I can as well, because at the end of the day, like for example, most in this past month, a lot of the loans has been either conventional or FHA. And so I try to like differentiate that for my clients that I have, also trying to figure out what ways can we help to get like down payment assistance or like closing cost help, things of that nature that people don't really think about, because a lot of times we just sit back and watch HGTV when, as a house is fixed and flipped in 90 days or less. And that's not always practical with like investment properties or, owning. And so also just try to get people to understand that your first home, it may not be your forever home. You're at the beginning, you're 23, 24, 25, you're at the beginning of your earning potential. And so you may want to figure out, all right, let me learn more about the FHA 203K loan, which is a renovation loan, or maybe I can look into the MMP program, the Merlin Mortgage program that can give 3% down payment, and just ways like that to try to figure out how can we achieve home ownership for as many people as we can as a realtor. And so also, since I have my license in DC, just like really see the difference in not only the opportunities, but also just the different in markets as well. Cause like from here to, I'm in Prince George's right now. So from here to like Baltimore, it's different. It's only an hour away, but it's like totally different versus Prince George's in DC. So it was just very interesting to see the dynamics of that change.
Cool. So I was reading recently, and this might've been pre-pandemic, that the growth in homeownership in the region, at least in DMV immediately, Prince George's had the highest growth rate, which I thought was super awesome.
Right.
I don't know if that's actually the case. So can you tell us a bit more about why that's happening and what it means for long-term?
And so one of the things that attributes to Prince George's County home ownership growth is the affordability and housing in comparison to other counties, in comparison to like Montgomery County or Howard or Hartford. Prince George is one of those cities where you still get that feel that you're in a city, like you're in a major city, because you're right down the street from the District of Columbia. You're hop, skipping, and jump from Suitland Parkway, or you can go BW Parkway. There's just so many different options that you can get into that District of Columbia. And then also, like when you think about the top 10, because I remember it was like the hottest markets in the DMV area. And one of the places that was in it was District Heights or Forestville. And so year over year, that area raised roughly 7 to 10%. And so people are starting to realize, all right, where can I live and I can still get that city feeling? I'm still close to, everybody that I know. I'm still close to the parties pre-pandemic, or I'm still close to the Beltway. And so it's just one of those things where people are really considering more factors than just, all right, I want to live in a big house outside on the outskirts of the county, or, they're just trying to figure out what's the best method for them at this point.
Very cool. Thank you. Ms. Boone, I know you've got to run to your next commitment, but we had one question come in for you, and that was, do you also offer a class for kids older than 8 or up to 21 years old, kind of in reference to the one this weekend?
Yes, yes. So there is the class for the 3 to 7 year olds is at 12 noon. 8 to 12-year-olds is at 1, and 13 to 17-year-olds is at 2.
Awesome.
Every Saturday this month, these are the free classes that I will be offering.
Awesome. And be sure to follow Ms. Boone at Zoe and Xanders 1 on Twitter and Instagram. And just before you jump off, I know that we had a big change in our public schools curriculum recently where financial literacy was made a part of the curriculum requirements for the first time, kind of district-wide. Is that a good sign? And is there a hope of other kind of jurisdictions following that?
I think that's definitely a good sign. Anytime we're talking to our young people about finance regularly, it's a great sign. Because again, we are encouraged to spend. We are the top consumers, so we're doing a great job at it. But we're not doing the proper planning. Just to talk about what Mr. Diggs was speaking about, I've already talked to my students about building their credit before they become 18 years old, with becoming an authorized user on their parents' account or getting a secured credit card. Now, I told their parent, I said, do not give your child your credit card just because you made them an authorized user, because they're still 8. But putting their name on your account it's not going to hurt anything if your credit is to the level where it needs to be, to help them build their credit. So they're really, really excited about that. I told them, hey, save your own money, and you can give your parents maybe $100 and $200 and say, hey, can you open up a secured credit card for me? Because it's your money. So we're talking to our young people about planning and not being so impulsive when it comes to spending their money. So yes, it's classes from age 3 to 17 all afternoon on Saturday.
Awesome. Well, we hope everyone will check out those classes, and we'll look forward to offering more of those classes either through FEC or the library or other partners coming up in the coming months.
The library is offering one in March.
Awesome.
It's called What is Credit? I believe it is March 12th or 13th. It's a virtual workshop for elementary school students, and it's going to be lots of fun.
Yeah, and you can visit our website, pgcmls.info/events, to get that info. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Boone. We'll see you again next time. Take it easy.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe. Be blessed. Bye-bye.
Have a great one. Thank you so much. Nick, before he jumps back in, I just wanted to say, Taronda, you see why I hang out with the advisory board here at FEC. I hang out to get all the free knowledge and information. They're all brilliant. And so that's why I am here.
Very good. I learn something new every time, and some of it's like, oh, I really did that in that past decision. I was like, uh-oh. And then things I wish that I had known at different points in life. So, Mr. Carlock, all yours.
No, I was just going to say, you asked about what this means for public schools. Now, that policy doesn't actually transact until the 2022-23 school year. So just to put it in some perspective, there is some on-ramping and runway and program design still to take place. And I'm sure each principal and the various vice principals and administrators are looking at how this can best be done, because to be quite honest, Nick, our school teachers are besieged with different curriculum restrictions, but also different curriculum and curricula that they have to teach, and they have to also prepare students for various tests. So, it makes it very challenging for teachers to balance that. So I wanted to not pour cold water, so to speak, but just keep it real that any type of change in education reform, the teacher is always at the center of managing that. And what that looks like when teachers are either ill prepared or not confident with the material or not as familiar with the material can matter. So we want that executed in this county, and any role the Financial Empowerment Center can play, we'd be grateful to help undergird that effort.
Absolutely. I totally agree, Heath, especially in terms of the Financial Empowerment Center. I think you put a plug in there for us. Perhaps that's something that we'll be doing to help with the school system in terms of making sure that the students have this information. It reminded me of when I was in high school and we had home ec and we learned about how to write a check. And so I feel like they're bringing some of those things back. And so I look forward to it. And I look forward to us assisting in any way that we can.
And I like where Plachette is going here. So Nick, a lot of the commentary and feedback people out in the public might say, and there are no absolutes here, but I do hear this quite often. And I hear this at churches, I hear this at community events like National Night Out, such as they don't teach these kids anything about money. These kids don't know anything. And Plachette speaks to a generation where there was home ec, and I'm not sure how popular that particular course is at this time, but there are different types of ways people weigh into these public conversations. And students actually, I'm a parent of 3 Prince George's County Public School students, so they do get various touches with material and curriculum. Now, in terms of dosage, that's different. In terms of the ability to prioritize which subject matter or which piece of material is more important or is being emphasized by their instructors or by their school, that's all relative to the school, to the learning situation, to the reinforcement capabilities of parents and the time parents have. If parents are working 2 and 3 jobs, Nick, it makes it more challenging and difficult, right? And because parents aren't getting enough time with students. And in our area, Chazzy can tell you this, a number of families work for the federal government. A number of families. I think County Executive also Brooks, during the government shutdown back in January of 2019, which seems so long ago, which is only 2 years ago, right? But this county was paralyzed by that, right? And she gave a press conference right outside my office, me and Victoria's office. And she spoke to the needs that the county had to address in the public here, because I believe, Plachette, $26 billion of government contracting comes through Prince George's County for the federal government. And it wasn't just federal workers who were impacted by that shutdown. It was contracted workers, and not just them, it was the family members and all the other businesses like food trucks. Whoever knew the collateral damage of a government shutdown would impact food truck small business owners, right? And so economic opportunity is large, and there's collateral damage that's done when there are bad decisions and choices that are made that aren't planned for. And at the individual level, what that looks like, I'll tell you a quick story what that looks like. It looks like someone making 6 figures, and then they miss 2 paychecks, and then they're in the breadline. That's what that looks like. Someone now, because of the commitments their budget has at the individual level, they're now on skates by the time they miss a second paycheck, because they may not have been practicing savings habits like Tyronda spoke of. They may not have been getting a few payments extra on their mortgage like Chazzy speaks of, right? They may not have been self-educating like Plachette speaks of, and they may not know how to take advantages of taxes like Victoria speaks of. And so now they're on skates, and they're all affected by that. And that happened to a lot of people in our county, not just those making 6 figures, those making only, somewhere up to 99,000, which I think affords us the opportunity to talk about the stimulus check and the stimulus money and what were the scary stories we're hearing about that, right? So people literally, in some instances, not all, have been using their stimulus checks to go after stocks or put it into Bitcoin and stuff like that. Now, in some cases, they're gonna make progress financially, right? But it's such a gamble. It's such a gamble, and that money is meant to be put back into the economy. Of course, for different income levels, people are putting it into savings, into their 401k, Roth IRA, and such, putting an extra payment towards their mortgage or making sure they're secure on their rent. But that's just a little feedback about our area and the decision making that goes on. And we have other partners like the Together program that focuses on couples. So there are a number of people watching this broadcast, I'm sure, who are in relationships, and Valentine's Day is coming up. So remember that. But the Together program is a program run out of University of Maryland, Virginia Tech, out of partnership, and they have a federal grant. And they work to improve couples' communication management, stress management, decision-making around budgeting and finance for that couple. And they compensate the couples for going. Now imagine sitting through this talk right now that we're doing and getting $160. So getting paid to actually invest in yourselves and the longevity of your relationship. So the Together program does afford for that. And you can sign up, go to togetherprogram.org, I believe is their website, or you can come through the Financial Empowerment Center and we'll patch you through there.
So Heath, I think you're taking jabs at me. You keep talking about this Together program, and I keep asking you to find me a partner to go through the Together program with.
Well, today might be the day. You never know.
All right, people. Hello. I'm
single. And we're going to be having the folks from the Together program on for a full hour with community conversation in the coming months.
There you go.
And they're, of course, with the advisory board here. Going back to the conversation about the government shutdowns, I was new to the federal government when I was a younger spring chicken. It was my first non-military gig after graduate school. I was working at Library of Congress, and it was the 2013 shutdown, which at that point ended up being pretty much the biggest one, except for the Newt Gingrich one in the early 90s. And I was basically hitting that period of 6 months out of grad school where my student loans were going to hit, and suddenly facing no income. And I was beyond like paycheck to paycheck at that point because I got my own apartment and that kind of thing. And that was a scary time. And like, I was very lucky that I could lean on my parents, at least for like moral support. And the thing, they have any money to spread around, unfortunately. But, and then with that experience, federal employees got the paycheck eventually after the shutdown ended. And what people don't realize, except for in these communities where we've got a lot of federal employees, is that the contractors do not get any compensation from that period. They don't get that missed pay back. And their companies are oftentimes so destroyed by those shutdowns and the lack of that contract revenue that they end up laying people off, and people might never come back. And like right now in COVID, at Library of Congress, the cafeteria folks, they are all contractual folks through an outside vendor, and they're not working. And are they going to even be able to come back in the next year? I don't know. And it's devastating because these are people that are part of our community. And that kind of thing, even when I lived that for 3 weeks, which is all that it was, and was waiting on 2 paychecks basically, that's terrorizing. And the amount of financial stress on top of other financial stresses that we might be dealing with, it can be really debilitating. So I think one of the things that comes out of conversations like this is that we've got to remove the shame around finance and personal finance, because if we're so afraid to kind of talk about what help we need, or talk to each other to kind of check in on each other and say, hey, is everything okay? Something going on? We're doing each other a disservice, because at the end of the day, there are resources that exist and that do not cost anything that will help all of us, regardless of what the challenges are. And, Heath and Plachette and Victoria and Chazzy, you might say to them, oh my God, I'm having trouble finding food, healthy food. And even though they're the FEC at PGCC team, or working in the financial sector, real estate sector, they are connected in the community, and they're going to be able to point you immediately to a resource where you could go that same day to get what you need. And that's the same thing that we do at the library. So all of these challenges that we face, as we've got to open up about them so that we can actually help each other and see what the patterns are. And that gets kind of into the issues around systemic inequities, which we see in this community a lot. We had Jason Reynolds, great author, on, and native Prince Georgian recently, where he was talking about how problematic the kind of moniker of Prince George's County as the wealthiest Black community is. And he was talking about how if you live in the Heights, you're in a different place compared to the Mitchellvilles, compared to the Greenbelts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
yeah, he mentioned how there's certain parts of Prince George's County, you may never even been on the Beltway to that other region, or even know what it looks like, or those communities. Yeah. So
there's so much to learn with all of this. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, like I was about to say, yeah, it's also one of those things where oftentimes you may deal with people who be like, ew, no, why would I live over there? like doing those type of inherent biases that comes to play. And, a lot of times we speak upon things like, like let's revitalize our neighborhoods, but oftentimes we're scared to, move back into those same neighborhoods. And so just one of those things where we're it's a long process, but we're at the beginning stages and we're learning slowly but surely. And so hopefully I'm hopeful.
And there's new data points that show that mixed income neighborhoods are the ones that do the best in terms of employment versus unemployment, in terms of crime versus no crime, right? And I think that as long as we have a wise framework from the county council, from county executive and developers in terms of how we shape and form these public spaces in this domain, we'll come out with better economic opportunity for all, which also speaks to employment. And Employ Prince George's is a great partner for the Financial Empowerment Center at Prince George's Community College. Walter Simmons, Jamie Gunnell, Tina Foster, Alexander Austin, these folks come and do presentations, and we often find that people are very much impressionable with regards to where they can find these types of opportunities for themselves using the Maryland Workforce Exchange and such. So we do care about that. But another point that we're all impacted by, and Plachette has worked with and for county council members and represented the county in different ways in Annapolis and supported things. So she knows about the importance of quality schools. And getting back to that conversation, because that school pipeline is so important as it goes through the community college. And we at the community college, we absorb a lot of what actually transpires in the local workforce. And Nick, you all at the library provide amazing resources, lynda.com. Just by having a library subscription, you can skill up, and you have other particular things. And we refer our clients to these very things, but it's the connective tissue in Prince George's County and within our various institutions, whether they are churches or synagogues or mosques or other religious institutions, the connective tissue of folks sharing simple statements like, hey, do you have a library card? Do you have a bank account? How's your mental health today? These basic questions don't always get asked, and people don't know what's free and what's available to them or how they can partner with someone. And so we're looking for that at the Financial Empowerment Center. We're looking for that at Prince George's Community College. And of course, going into Black History Month, we've partnered with the African American History Museum and Cultural Center of Prince George's County, which is a great place in North Brentwood. Plachette, pre-COVID, they have these exhibits. You can go in and nourish yourself on local Black history, on national Black history and such, and find your way in the diaspora on issues related to Africa and such. So we're partnering with them to do a presentation on Black business success. And also later this month, we're partnering with an author named Kidi Awadu. And for anyone who knows NPR's show that has this wonderful exchange, Kidi Awadu was on the Kojo Nandi show. And on that show, he talked about nutrition, he talked about agriculture, he talked about something called scientific Black futurism. And Kidi Awadu is going to be on our broadcast as well soon. And then we're also going to have the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And tomorrow, we're actually going to have another author, Dr. Tisa Silver Kennedy, who's going to talk about borrowing while Black and the history of Blacks and student loans. And she's going to, give us a bird's eye view into what it takes to pay down debt, what it takes to navigate the scene now that we have these protections by the CARES Act and other government instruments that have delayed payments, put all together a moratorium in place. So we're actively responding to the current, but we're also taking a very specific lens into the history of how we got here. And at the individual level, Nick, these things they manifest themselves. Last thing I'll say, I know we're almost up on time, but The last thing I'll say is that today's program at the Financial Empowerment Center, and Victoria, I want you to actually speak to some of this, but the storytelling, the breakthrough story, is called Breakthrough Financial Storytelling. And what people are able to do when they're able to articulate where they are in their story with money, you realize that the story, the end is not here. And when we realize that there's more to it than just us, trauma tells us everything we need to know. And trauma therapists reveal that we're here now, but how we got here is not our fault. And you were mentioning mental health earlier, I think, and one of the aspects of that is the ability to articulate what happened and how we got here. Victoria, can you say a little bit about people's reactions to today's program?
Sure, yes. So today with the financial storytelling, I actually speak with the group that I was speaking with. I had a younger student, maybe in her 20s, and then an older woman about in maybe her 50s and her 60s, and to kind of see the same questions being asked, but a different insight on them was great. I know one of the young ladies, we were asking, like, in your household, when you were younger, did your parents talk to you about money, or was it not talked about at all? I know the older woman said, well, in our family, yes, we did talk about it a little bit, or they just told me to save. And that was the one thing that they always said. But then the young lady in her household, she said, I grew up in an African household and they didn't tell me about money. It was, my parents' business. And then when I got older, I had to kind of figure it out for myself. So it was kind of interesting to see their insights and how money is, how money affects us throughout everything, throughout our whole lives. So to kind of get, like he said, to kind of get to the story, get to the root of things, it kind of helps you with your continual wellness and continued growth in your finances. So you have to get to the story, get to the base.
Awesome. Just in hearing the storytelling, it makes me think about how awesome public service is and how many opportunities exist within public service that open doors for financial security that we, like, if you think about going to the military, some people might be making that decision for the financial security that could come out of having the GI Bill, having the VA home loan benefit, the potential of getting your job training paid for as part of your military training. But one of the things that I think maybe some people don't think about is that in the grand scheme of public service, and whether that's local, state, federal government, military, public health, community service through nonprofits, any field or discipline you could possibly want to do, there is an avenue to do that in a public service setting. Whether you want to be a musician and you want to go work as a military bandsman, which was one of the cool things I've had the opportunity to do. If you want to go be a amazing, like, detective, researcher, biomedical person, you can go work in the Army, you can go work for NCIS, FBI, all these other cool things. And some of these opportunities, just because of the nature of the sector or the agency or whatever, gives you such a leg up in terms of a kind of foundation, in terms of access to special opportunities like that VA home loan that I mentioned, access to training to advance your career goals. And then think about the military. Like, if you enlist in the military at age 17, you could retire after 20 years, whether you did reserves or active duty. You would be 37. You could, by that point, have all your higher education paid for, done on work time, been able to travel the world, and then picked up a language along the way. And then you can go transfer that into a civilian career, whether you want to do the same thing or do a different thing completely. Like, I have a colleague that just recently, she retired from the military and came to hang out with us at PGCMLS for a period. She retired as a senior officer in the Army and decided, I want to go to library school and I want to go work in libraries as her second career. And there's some really awesome creative ways to think about public service and helping you towards this long-term financial security that we've been talking about. So in the interest of time, we unfortunately have to start to wrap, but I would love to invite everyone to share some parting wisdom about anything under the sun, about how we might look towards the future, regardless of where we are with the pandemic or economic crisis, about how we can take care of ourselves and those that we care about in our community. And anyone can take it away.
Well, I'll go first because I don't want that pressure as the last person. Speaking, I'll give that to Mr. Carlock. And so again, just thank you so much for having us here. The one thing I will say about the Financial Empowerment Center during this time, a lot of it is mental therapy for me as well. We are a family. And so though we talk about money and financial wellness and the things that help people in terms of their credit and savings, it is also a very safe space. And so we have a great time there in learning. So in terms of your mental health and things that will help you during this time, just find a group of people that you can spend some time with who you really like. And so I really appreciate the time that we have, that we spend together. And in that, I still learn as well. And so I just want to thank each of you. I want to thank you, Nick. I love the library. And I've been a friend of the library for many, many years, and I appreciate all the things and the resources that you have. Unfortunately, a lot of times people don't know all the great resources that are out here. And so my hope is that during this time when we have these community conversations, that we can just begin to share, and hopefully people ask questions and have more knowledge about the things and the resources that are here in Prince George's County. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you. And we have a couple questions from Ms. Vivian that if anyone wants to work and answer as we wrap up here. First question was, do you like what you do? And then the second one is, how has COVID impacted your position? So if there's a way to bring that together in a nutshell with your closing nugget of wisdom, that would be awesome.
So I can say I do like what I do. My day job as well as I'm a IT specialist with the federal government, and so I mix that. I get to do both of the things that I like to do. So I guess COVID-19 has impacted my position because it made me like focus on what was my goal. Because like I told friends yesterday, COVID-19 really slowed me down, and when I say that, not in a necessarily bad thing, but it made me like focus on what I want to do with it, what I wanted to do, how to do it better, how to do it more efficiently. Because, you know, when there's less money coming in or things of that nature, you're going to figure out better ways to be more efficient. And so that's how COVID-19 affected me.
Cool. Thank you. Victoria?
Thank you. But yes, again, thank you guys. Thank you, Nick, and the PG Memorial Library System. We appreciate being invited here today. But I'll also answer this question. Yes, I do like what I do. I've been with the Financial Empowerment Center since its inception, actually a little bit before. I was a graduate of Prince George's Community College. So I got to wrap in my love for like accounting and taxes and helping people into my work that I do today. And then with COVID-19, how it's affected our position, I feel like we're able to touch people more in a virtual space than we were at the FEC. So it actually hasn't impacted us in a great way. We're able to speak with wonderful people like you at this platform. And then also we get to be reaching actually outside of Prince George's County. We had a couple people on our workshop today from Houston, Texas, who joined us, and they also enjoyed our services. So I think it has been rough, but it has been impactful and great in different ways and for our position here. And my one little nugget is just when it comes to your finances, or just this time during COVID, make sure you reach out to people that you may not have talked to in a while. Take some time to slow down, read something new every day. Like Keith has mentioned to us a lot, 15 minutes a day, read something that helps you and helps you to grow. So those are my last 2 cents. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And Nick, it's a pleasure working with all the folks from the Financial Empowerment Center and leading a core group. You feed off the energy from the group sometimes, and then you have to bring new energy to the group so that they get a chance to feed as well. So we have amazing people who are public school teachers, people who are retired military, people who are from the banking industry, people who've served in public service as chief of staff for council members and such, and then people who have a legacy through the college, going even all the way through AmeriCorps like Victoria as a Vista. And so we tend to push that opportunity and pay it forward. So we've had folks from AmeriCorps for consecutive years work with the Financial Empowerment Center. We've had young people through the federal government's work study program, work at the Financial Empowerment Center. Victoria and I are very intentional about continuing to embrace the need to inspire others, impact others, and make sure this isn't something that's just pointed outward, but is pointed inward to the college and to the community that can come through the college, right? So that's very important. I'll end by saying this, that Einstein said the significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. Mm-hmm. And so at the individual level, if your problem stumps you, or if you've witnessed sort of going down that slippery slope and not being able to gain traction again with your goals, your life aspirations, that you need to open yourself up for a change. And we talk about financial behavior change left and right. There's something called the trans-theoretical model. But before I even explain that, we bring practice out of theory, right? And so when you look at the trans-theoretical model, that's someone who realizes everything's not quite right now, or I want to do better, or there's something I can improve at. And then the step 2 from that is I need help. Saying I need help after you realize something's not going well is a big step for some people, because people are proud. People have emotions. People don't want to be hurt. People have been traumatized, right? And sometimes people have damaged thinking and thought processes that need elevation. And so saying I need help is a big statement. And then going from that to finding help and showing up for help. There are a number of people who sign up for the help we offer, and I'm sure this is true for any number of public services, who don't wind up showing up for the help. So there's a gap there too. And so we try to do data learning. Who are the people who are likely to not show up? What can we do? Can we give them an extra reminder? Can we give them an extra call, right? And then going from showing up for help to actually engaging with the plan of action, to develop that plan of action, to make it something customized for the individual. And then the individual gets to take that and actually do the action. And then the last part of that, the trans-theoretical model, is to continue with that action, to sustain it, right? And so we believe in that. And those require executive skills. Executive skills are things that are learned, and that's what Tyranda was getting at. Executive skills are things that go back to youth and childhood and are nourished for a lifetime and are demonstrated. Things like working memory, time management, organization, goal-directed learning, right? And also task initiation. And so a lot of financial behavior change is linked to task initiation, being able to sit down and do a budget, being able to look at a bank account and say, this is where I splurged. Let me get better next month or for the next 3 months, right? And having emotional control. And the very last thing I'll mention are the 8 points of wellness. The 8 points of wellness look at your financial wellness, environmental wellness, emotional wellness, occupational wellness, right? They look at social wellness, spiritual wellness. And we harp on the connection between financial, occupational, and social wellness, because most people, over half of people who have jobs, get jobs because they know someone who works at the place they're working at or going to be working for. So it's not just sending your resume into an endless pit, right? Where it just goes into a black hole and you don't know what happened or why somebody's not calling you back. It's using your network and building from there, and then getting that income from that begins the stages of money. So be encouraged, folks. Come visit us at the center virtually. And when things get back, after we get our vaccines and get our little shot in the arm or whatever, if it's safe. But after we get that done, we'll be back up and running, and we look forward to seeing the public.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to all of you for joining me. I truly, truly, truly appreciate personally, and then on behalf of the library, the collaboration that we all have to support our community. It is really special. And when we say, sometimes it's hokey, but Prince George is proud is a real thing. Like, we have a really strong sense of community here, and that, no pandemic can get in the way of that. And in fact, these challenges, I think, bring us together and make us a lot stronger, as we've heard with some of the opportunities that have been discussed tonight. So Next Thursday, we'll be back with our friends from the Human Relations Commission. They're going to be talking about the African diaspora and how that is a part of Black History Month and Black Heritage here in the United States. Renee Battlebrooks will be interviewing our county's new African diaspora liaison. Also tonight, I would love for you all to join us at 7 p.m. We have a very special program. We're hosting Pulitzer Prize winning author and columnist Leonard Pitts Jr., who, aside from being a national rock star columnist and public thinker, is a Prince George's County native. He has lived here since the mid-90s, lives in Bowie. And I don't know if he's appeared with the library before, but this is at least the first time in recent history, and I'm so excited. He's going to be talking to us about Black voter engagement as part of a series we have with the Human Relations Commission called Voting, Democracy, and Action, and that is made possible by Maryland Humanities. So that's tonight at 7 o'clock, same place. The archival video will be available on our YouTube if you want to watch it later on. Thank you, Plachette. Thank you, Chazzy. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Heath. And thank you, Tyranda, who had to leave a little earlier. And thank you to Steve, my colleague, who's hopped in to say hi before we got started. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Keep your distance. Do what you need to do to stay healthy with your mind and with your body. And we'll see you again next time. Bye, everyone.